For the last 2 decades, some of the biggest gaming news and reveals have come during the Electronic Entertainment Expo, or E3, the yearly video game industry trade show where the newest titles and products are on full display, many for the first time. But even though the show has drawn tens of thousands of people to its convention centers every summer, the show itself has gone through a whole lot of changes during its 22-year-long run. So let's take a look back at the history of E3 and maybe laugh at all the dorky 90s outfits while we're at it.
Strap yourself in, because we're going to E3.
Okay, so here we are in 1985. The gaming industry was attempting to recover from the market crash 2 years prior, and CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, was the primary convention for hardware makers to show off the newest consoles and games. Video games would continue to thrive after the release of the Nintendo Entertainment System, but there still wasn't a dedicated gaming convention for all the newest releases. For the next 10 years, they had to share the spotlight with the latest televisions, cameras, and the Batmobile. And so that brings us to 1995, right in the middle of the decade. A 19-year-old Tiger Woods was dominating the amateur golf world, Bill Gates was busy launching the newest version of Windows with Jay Leno for some reason, but more importantly, the Interactive Digital Software Association, now known as the Entertainment Software Association, or ESA, was quietly putting together the biggest video game trade show in the world.
I'm Kurt Loder with MTV News. Connoisseurs of video games, computer effluvia, and all the latest in electronic gizmo mania converged on Los Angeles last week for the annual Electronic Entertainment Expo, better known as E3.
Okay, 50,000 members of the press in its first year is hardly quiet. In fact, the gaming world got an earful of big console announcements from the 3 biggest publishers at the time: Sony, Sega, and Nintendo. During E3 1995, Sony revealed the original PlayStation's release date and price. The Sega Saturn, for some reason, started immediately shipping to retailers, and Nintendo showcased the Virtual Boy. I guess 1 out of 3 ain't bad. And that was in addition to all the third-party developers who also showed up. 3DO, Capcom, Activision, EA, and Squaresoft all attended, but their presence was dwarfed by none other than Acclaim, who brought in over 15 different games to the show. E3's first year ended up being one of the biggest gaming conventions to date and encouraged the organizers to continue having the show in Los Angeles every summer. And they did, for the next 2 years at least. While sunny California might have been the perfect spot for E3, due to some unfortunate negotiation problems, the location was actually moved to Atlanta, Georgia for 1997 and 1998. Nevertheless, E3 continued to grow in size, and upon returning to the LA Convention Center, the attendance remained at a steady 60 to 70,000 people strong. That's quite a lot of people, but there were quite a lot of games there as well. E3 1999 featured Sega's new Dreamcast console in full force, as well as some previews of Sony's new PlayStation. At E3 2000, we saw the first appearance of computer software giant Microsoft, who were preparing for the release of their first video game console, the Xbox.
And you'll be able to get a box just like this, with Xbox in it.
E3 2001 was the final appearance of Sega as a console maker after making the decision to focus on software only. But we also got the first look at Nintendo's latest system, the GameCube, as well as the first trailer for Super Smash Bros. Melee, which, by the way, is still one of the biggest fighting games today. So the new big 3, Sony, Nintendo, and now Microsoft, kind of cruised along for a few years. It wasn't until E3 2006 that Sony decided to make history with one of the weirdest press conferences ever.
Game is powered by Namco. It's Ridge Racer. Ridge Racer! Remember that one?
The stages of the game will also be based on famous battles which actually took place in ancient Japan. So here's this giant enemy crab.
Was the unintentional goofiness of Sony's press conference the tipping point? Probably not, but the giant enemy crabs sure didn't help anything.
I'll switch over to Yoshitsune, hop on its stomach, and you attack its weak point for massive damage.
The following year, citing budget issues among some publishers, then ESA president Doug Lowenstein announced that E3 would now be a smaller, more intimate event with an invite-only list of about 10,000 people. This shift essentially shut out many bloggers and non-industry professionals that had attended the show in previous years. And with a new look, also came a new name, E3 Media and Business Summit. Also, E3 that year wasn't held at the typical Los Angeles Convention Center, nor was it held in any sort of central location at all. It was actually spread across different venues and locations in Santa Monica, and if you weren't part of the industry at the time, you probably wouldn't have even realized it was happening. Gone were the gaudy displays and sensory overload of previous years, and in their place were hotel ballrooms and Jamie Kennedy.
From Neversoft, which, wasn't that the first name for Viagra? I don't...
Despite the changes being made to try and improve the show, it was still an exceedingly tough time for E3, with Sims creator Will Wright saying that the conference, quote, almost feels like a zombie at this point. But hey, at least we got a few memes out of the deal.
My body is ready.
Thankfully for Will Wright and many other people who once enjoyed attending E3, the show was actually opened back up to a larger audience in 2009, with over 40,000 people coming back to check out the latest games, such as Metal Gear Rising, Final Fantasy XIV, and Super Mario Galaxy 2. The slight misstep didn't seem to matter all that much, as E3 continued to be the biggest name in gaming trade shows, though there has been no shortage of awkward press conferences in the years since. There was Ubisoft's in 2015.
Do you have a meme you want to pitch?
We had Mr. Caffeine in 2011.
Everyone do it with me. I said everyone go.
And of course, Konami's in 2010.
This is not originally hack and slash anymore. This is an extreme hack and slash title.
But, as we all know, E3 isn't about memes. Mostly. With a 22-year history behind it, there have also been changes in the way publishers approach the show. Companies like Ubisoft have continuously attempted to bring more personality and humor to their press conferences, though their success rate is up for debate, and Nintendo stopped doing live press conferences entirely in 2013 to focus on their pre-recorded showcases, dubbed Nintendo Direct. And in 2017, E3 itself changed everything by opening its doors to the public for the very first time, meaning that anyone was able to buy tickets and attend the show. But even through all its ups and downs, E3 has been and continues to be a place for media, publishers, and now the gaming public to gather and celebrate video games in all their wonderful, and sometimes weird, glory. So here's to more E3, to more jaw-dropping reveals, more awkward moments and goofy press conferences, and most importantly, more games.
Next, check out our full body motion capture. So, as you can see, when I start making movements with my avatar, it instantly mimics me on screen. You ever wonder what the bottom of an avatar shoe looks like? Well, bam! There it is.